the end zone. He's got Simpkins caught in for the touchdown. Deshaun Simpkins with the snag.
Looking left to Sims Marshall. Home run down for Jalen Marshall. He's got a touchdown.
Happy Monday to you here from Buffalo Wings and Rings in Bedford Ridge. I'm Chef Kim filling in for Ty Bradshaw tonight. Of course, to my left, your right, the coach, Tom Bolden. Good to see you.
Good to see you, brother. Always good to be seen. That means that we have survived and advanced.
And we'll touch upon that here in just a minute. Of course, we are, again, over at Buffalo Wings and Rings. And as our friend Ty likes to say, it's not just bar food, it's raised the bar food. Come on in. Our good friend Cy Rose is here, and they'll get you taken care of in a hurry.
Yeah, the cheese, not just the wings and everything they have, whether it's the bone-in or the boneless, but this cheeseburger they got going on here, I'm telling you, as the kids would say, it's banging. I'm telling you. It is good stuff.
Well, as you know, I come to see you whenever I get a chance to have game day with you the following Friday.
Absolutely.
And that has been my go-to, so I highly recommend it.
Absolutely. Yes. Yep, good stuff.
12-2 winners on Friday, Coach, and it's a game that I feel like you've been preparing for all season since week one. And I know that it's not like you or any other coach to look ahead towards a game, but I have to think St. X was the game that you were looking forward to.
Well, I think it always stuck with us. So to that, yes. I mean, I think after week one, it was one of those things where obviously we didn't like the outcome. We played well at times, but not well all the time, and which it takes to, or the majority of time to win a game like that. So, yeah, I think it was always with us. We always practice tempo at a time, things that relate to what St. X does and stuff like that. So, yeah, you're always, Steve had always told me when I was at Corin and we ran the triple option all the time that he always would do a 10-minute option period and things like that at least once a week. So, yeah, there's things that, if you think you're going to meet somebody later on and you have an opportunity to work on some stuff, then you work on some stuff.
Your defense is great as it is, but I think sometimes a great defense starts with ball control on offense, and you ran the ball 41 times on Friday.
Yeah, we started off, we played them the first game. Their backers just played downhill right from the get-go. So we came out and threw it around a little bit early to kind of slow their feet down, per se, a little bit. But then, obviously with the elements and things like this time of the year, the wind, the rain, all that kind of stuff, I think we did would we like to throw the ball more and all that kind of stuff? Absolutely. But, you got to take not necessarily what they give you, but you've got to take what's best for the situation, and that's what it was. And, we definitely did that in the second half.
Your son Mitch had 20 carries. Cameron Good had 18. I mean, that's a lot of carries for a high school football game, especially when they're pressure carries. I mean, and not just in the fourth quarter when obviously the game is on the line. They're pressure carries in the first quarter.
Yeah, and against a great defense like that. I mean, I selfishly think we have the best defense, and I think that theirs is St. X has a really good one too, and that's. To be able to do that in the second half to finish out a game against a great defense was impressive. It was fun to watch, and it was good to see as a head coach.
Coach, I want to go through the progression of the game, partly because I wasn't there, but partly because in knowing how tight it was from the very beginning. You're scoreless in the first quarter.
Yep.
You get a field goal in the second, and that's what you carry in a 3-0 lead into halftime. How tense were those first 24 minutes?
Yeah, they were about how I thought they would go, and that's the thing where, when great teams get together like that, rarely can you lose the game and or win the game in those early part of it because you're kind of feeling each other out and things like that. So that's about how I thought it would go, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, I wish we'd had more offense, but I wasn't surprised because of what they can do and that good a staff. And people were like, I've talked to people, all the defense and all that. It did not shock me. It does not, and it did not shock me they played that well.
How soon are you making adjustments in game? Is it the first quarter sometime? Is it in the second quarter, or do you wait till a half?
No, it's after the first series. Like if you're waiting until halftime, you're going to get beat. So yeah, it's in-game adjustments as you go. You know, you have the huddle sideline system now, and you have the iPads, so you can get immediate feedback that you can get to the kids. So it is constant from first series on. Adjustments are constantly being made throughout the game. Take
us through halftime. You got a 3-0 lead, so the first things first. You get a lead going into the locker room, which is a good feeling, if not a tenuous one, but at least a good feeling, right? Take us through halftime. What did you do to keep momentum?
Well, really, to be quite honest with you, when we went in, it was more talking about adjustments that needed to be made, which in a sense would do that. So basically, it really was the entire time in there. Offensive defense split, just talking about the adjustments we needed to do. I probably spoke to them for a few seconds together as a team at the end. I just bounced back and forth between the O and the D, but it was pretty much just pure talked about fundamental what we needed to do in terms of scheme and stuff like that, and the adjustments we needed to make.
So you get through the half, you get a 3-0 lead, and then in the third quarter you get a very important field goal to accentuate double the lead. It's still a one-score game, but do you feel like at that point 6-0 in a third quarter, especially the way things have gone, I think back to last year's regional championship game, when you double a score from 3 to 6, how big was that field goal?
Yeah, no, it felt good because obviously you knew they had to get it in the end zone at least. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was even though it's still just a one score. I guess in terms of thinking about that way, it had to be a touchdown. So yeah, no, that felt good. And how about Tyler Bond, who, to be quite honest with you, was a kid last year that. We didn't, not to be disrespectful, I joke with Tyler about it all the time, but we didn't really think much about him. You know what I mean? He was this little skinny kid and just wanted to be a kicker, and he could barely kick it 20 yards. But, he grew and he worked his butt off from the end of last year to the beginning of this year, and it has really, really paid off for him.
In fairness, you did have Matthew Howard last year.
Yeah, and that's why it was easy to forget who Tyler was. So yeah.
On the other side, as we kind of talk a little bit about St. X and how good they were, I want to give credit to their running back, C.J. Kellum, who gassed you for over 100 yards in that first game. He did get you for over 100. How good is he as a running back?
He's really good. He's he can catch it out of the backfield. He runs hard. He runs the stretch play good. He can cut it back. He's got really good speed. I mean, he's a really good running back. He in watching them in the game film, and especially in the playoffs, man, he had some crazy numbers in games. So yeah, he's a special football player. I don't know where he's going to end up going. Whoever he ends up going to is going to get a great football player.
But to your credit here, your defense never gave up more than a 21-yard run. I think that was the big high water mark for Kellum here in this ball game. How did you prepare for him here going into this regional semifinal?
Just like we did. I think up front, Eli, who's here tonight, and Owen Kaufman and Hondo, Brian Henderson, along with the linebacking crew, that odd front defense, we want to play flat and fast. And it was one of those things where it was, I think Eli kind of had a coming out party, to be quite honest with you. I think he's played really well all year, but I think he was on a mission Friday night. So hopefully we can get another game out of him Friday night like that one. But yeah, no, we were really, really good up front all night. And that's what it takes. It starts there.
We'll talk obviously about Moeller here in a little bit, but going on to the fourth quarter, and it's the pivotal fourth quarter at that point because you get that big breakout run from Cam Good. I think it was a 46-yarder. It set up an end goal situation, and then he punches it in.
Yeah.
That completely, I believe, flipped the game on its head at that point, even though you didn't get the extra point.
Yeah, well, we shouldn't even have gone for the extra point. I was down on the other end, and we just ran the the extra point team out there, and we were trying to get it communicated that we need to go for. So that was a hot mess. But I didn't want to burn a timeout for that with it being 2 scores. If we needed it later. But that was big, and it was a lot of that is unfortunately, and I haven't heard how bad his knee is, but their linebacker went down. He's going to go to Miami. He hurt his knee, so terrible for him. But for lack of a better term, it helped us in terms of, getting some open space. And that was a big run and punching that in. And that was kind of, at that point, I kind of felt with how we were playing defensively, like, this is happening.
Well, at that point, Coach, I'm looking at this from obviously an observer up in the booth here. But at that point, you can manage minutes.
Yeah, and that's why I said once we got to that point. And like I said, how we were playing, I felt didn't say I ever felt comfortable, but you looked at the game as a different approach in terms of, okay, this is what we need to do offensively now.
So you got a 12-point lead at that point after the touchdown. You have a 2-score lead at that point, and it's got to be touchdowns and not field goals for St. X to come and catch up. Tell me about the safety. I didn't catch exactly what happened there.
Yeah, we had the right formation, for punt, and they had overloaded the one side, which they always do. Unfortunately, one of our guys didn't fan out, so they pressured it hard at the middle. We had that blocked. We brought an extra guy in. Our other guy didn't fan out. I don't think we communicated it well to him. He didn't fan out. And the kid came in and made a great play. It's one of those things where when you squeeze your inside, alignment down, your splits, it shortens the edge. So it's pivotal that you get, you get it, the edge blocked. And we just missed it. But, went out of the back of the end zone, and we were able to kick it off and play defense again. So it was another testament to the defense is, we kicked it off and he fielded it on the 50 or midfield. And think about not only did St. X not get in the red zone, they didn't get close enough to attempt a field goal. So that's crazy defense right there.
I know that you have to look at the games, from a game standpoint, from a whole team, but your defense did pitch a shutout. And, as far as I'm concerned, it's the 3rd shutout this year. You actually pitched a real shutout against Princeton back in week 4.
Our starters have pitched a bunch of shutouts this year. There is, I would take, and no disrespect to the other guys, but the starters take pride in that, and I always acknowledge them. With that, any chance I get, you know what I mean. So the starters have pitched plenty of shutouts.
When the defense doesn't give up points, then it's a great day. You win the turnover battle, the all-important turnover battle, 3-1. You get 3 interceptions, 2 from Josh Fussell and then 1 from Jair.
Yeah, Josh is kind of the quiet, unsung guy. They call him. Do all of you guys call him Baby Jack, or is that just Jair? That is his nickname? Baby Jack. So he's kind of the unsung guy back there, but he leads the team in interceptions. He has 6. So he and Jair, the 2 corners, got a little bit of a competition going. But he is a phenomenal football player, even better kid. He'll be the next D1er out of that group for sure.
Well, and you do have, just on that defensive back line, and I kind of joked about calling them the 5 guys defensive backfield, right? I don't you got 3 4-stars in that defensive backfield. I can't think of another team in the state, much less maybe even the country, that has that kind of talent in one part of the field.
Yeah, and then like you said, Josh is one of those guys who doesn't have the star thing that goes on and all that. And then Ben Minnick might arguably be the fastest one of them in a straight line race. So he can run. So it's a good group to have back there.
Cam broke off, obviously, the big run to set up the touchdown that he would later punch in. He's had major runs. I think back to even like before the playoffs started. Back to week 10, against Lakota East. He broke off a big one there. And then every week in the playoffs, it's been a big run somewhere by Cam.
Yeah, hopefully he can keep doing that. And that's one of those things where you keep pounding him. And when he gets downhill and hits the hole hard, big things can happen. I mean, he's 205 pounds, and he runs behind his pad. But when he gets in space, he's pretty darn fast.
He's incredibly fast.
Yeah.
He has been able to get away. Before we take a timeout, again, 12-2 winners last week. Do you feel like that you got, I don't want to say a monkey, but a monkey off your shoulders after, you lose to St. X last year in the regional final. I was there. And then they get you in the season opener.
Yeah.
You feel like that the monkey's off your back a little bit?
I don't know. I mean, it was just, we're going to play again game one next year. So, I mean, it's just one of those things, and we'll probably play them again. It is. I think somebody told me that was the 23rd game in 15 years between Coach Beck and I, his led team, and my 15 years we've played 23 times. I mean, it's just kind of the norm. So I don't ever look at it that. It's just great wins and things like that. It's always good to avenge a tough loss in the regional championship last year and then the opener. So that's where it feels really good. But I know we could do it, so I don't view it as getting a monkey off our back. I view it as something that we could do, should do, and did.
Well, ultimately you're playing in Week 14, and I think that's all that matters right now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff.
We'll take a timeout. We'll step aside here. We are at Buffalo Wings and Rings here in Beckett Ridge for the Firebird Show here on Chatterbox Live. We're live from Buffalo Wings and Rings in Beckett Ridge, along with the coach Tom Bolden. I'm Jeff Kim, filling in for Ty Bradshaw tonight. We're on the precipice of Week 14, or as we better like to call it, the regional finals. It'll be Moeller. It'll be the 1 versus 3, and I guess you wouldn't have it any other way. They had a hard-fought win themselves over the weekend, 28-21 winners over the 4-seed Princeton. It's funny how much Region 4 has kind of gone in order from, like, the strength. It's like the top 4 seeds make it, and you and, of course, Moeller will get after it here on Friday. Yeah, that's usually how it plays out, not all the time. But, they took care of a really athletic, good Princeton football team. So they're playing really good football right now. Well, to that point, right, before you could even blink, they were down 14-0 in that game, and then Noah Gesselbrock, we'll see a lot of, obviously, on Friday. He was a genius going down the stretch, throwing for a couple of touchdowns and then running for one. Yeah, he's a big old dude, man. He's 6'6", likes to throw it around, can run it when he has to. So, he definitely presents a challenge. Yeah, they were, Princeton, picked up a fumble and, took it back and scored. And it was but, they didn't flinch. They were down 14-0 and came right back on them. So, we got our hands full. And that defense over there for Moeller, that's a side of the ball that's not getting a lot of attention, but they're getting hot really at the right time of the year. Yeah, they're playing their best football right now. No question about it. I mean, they, to really hold that Princeton offense to 14 points is pretty good by them, and they're big up front. They got a linebacker who led the GCL in tackles. They got a safety who I think was 3rd or 4th in the GCL in tackles. So they got some dudes on that end of the football. They held Princeton to 289 yards. Now, obviously, a lot of common opponents between the two of you going into this Friday, but that's the one that sticks out because obviously the time of the year you ran into Princeton when they were undefeated and took them out in a shutout. Here, Moeller actually after that first quarter really locked down on them. Yeah, and they beat Princeton with Princeton having their quarterback back healthy. So, yeah, I mean they were. They're hitting on all cylinders right now, Moeller's defense. Well, I'll share this point, and I think maybe this is accentuated because of what you did last week with your game. You had ball control, running all the ball all the many times that you did, over 40 times. Moeller held the ball for over 33 minutes against Princeton on Friday night.
Yeah, that's by plan. You know, I mean, think about that. As all those athletes Princeton have, if they can't get on the field, I'm sure that's what they're going to try to do. Friday night. You know, we'll probably see a heavy dose of them trying to run right at us.
Well, and the thing that, as much as you're going to see that, I know they have a young man, Jordan Marshall, and he's splitting time with, I think, Alex Weeder, who's like a little, it's funny to watch him on tape, right? He's a little 5'5", 5'6" guy, and he's standing next to Gesselbrock, and he's got a full foot on top of him.
6'6" quarterback. Yeah, no, it's pretty wild to see it on film. But both the running backs are really good, complement each other very, very well. So they're we got our hands full. They catch it well out of the backfield and things like that. So it's a challenge.
Well, they do put the ball in play through the air quite a bit. In fact, I think I was doing a little homework before this. They have almost an even split on run versus pass distribution this year.
Yeah, I could see that when you watch the film. It's something that you notice right away that they're a pretty balanced offense.
Well, so Coach, I guess maybe without giving away the secret sauce, how do you guard against that? Because on 3rd and 10 they could well run it, and on 1st and let's just say they get a penalty situation. It's 1st and 5. They might throw it in the air.
Yeah, no, we just got to play sound defense, do our assignments. That's the thing that we want to make sure that we're in the right place and let our dudes do what they do.
They got a kid. I shouldn't say kid. These are young men here, but they've got a speedster on the outside. Tennell Bryant, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
And that young man can run with the best of anybody I think I've seen in the entire region this year.
Yeah, he's arguably he one of the fastest kids around. They've got another kid who was with them early, hadn't been with them for a while, but it looks like he's back with them. The Brown White kid. I mean, he can run too. So they've probably got two of the fastest guys that you will see in a football uniform. I mean, they can flat out go.
So with the common opponents, and of course, the games that we've even called with them, on Chatterbox between you both of your schools. When you get this much tape on a school, is it good or is it a hindrance when trying to think about strategy?
Well, I mean, it's all relative. I mean, there's things that you can do in terms of you want to see what in terms of, who they're playing. Is the defense similar to what you do? Is offense similar to what you do? So, you pick the three you want. You sift through it. It's one of those things where everybody's going to do a little something different come playoffs, a few tricks up their sleeve. But bottom line at this point, it's pretty much this is what we do, this is what they do. See who's good is better. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Do you know Mark Elder over at?
I do know Mark. Mark was when he went to Sycamore and played football at Sycamore and all that kind of stuff. And then when he moved on and he was with Butch at UC and then down at Tennessee and then became the head coach at Eastern Kentucky and would come in and recruit. And then, now the coach. Yeah, Mark is he's a good dude. He's a tremendous guy.
Well, and you see the turnaround that he's made with that that Moeller program. I mean, not that long ago they had a minus record, and now here they're just like you on the step away from getting a regional championship.
Yeah, no, it's he's done a tremendous job with them. Got him in the right spot.
I had heard from somebody, a friend here, that there was a certain amount of plug and play that hey, sometimes in a given year you get what you get, even in a school like Moeller who can recruit as well. And I think to a point, right? You look at the.
He said that, not me. Jeff said that, not me. Just so everybody knows.
I'm not getting you in trouble, Coach.
No, we're good.
That's all
Get
I know.
yourself in trouble, not me. No, you're good. You don't have to worry about it. Yeah, no.
Okay,
no.
So to the point here is you look at schools who sometimes they can't – they don't have somebody in-house to be able to say, hey, we want this prototype for this spot on the field. I look to their running back in young Mr. Weeder at 5'5".
Yeah.
You wouldn't think about him being a D1 running back, but he's got the quicks, and he can. He got, I think, 20 carries last week.
Yeah, no one would have thought Mayan Williams for Winton Woods would have been
exactly.
I mean, it's it's when the preparation meets the opportunity and things like that. And that's it. But that's where Mark's done a really good job, where he's playing with what he has to his strengths and things like that.
In looking and again doing the preparation here on Moeller, and you had mentioned that your defense will just have to play fundamentally sound, and hey, they'll get what they get, and that's the way it's been. But this year, your team on defense, and I look back to last year's team and how good that defense is. This year's defense is as talented, if not more talented, than last year's squad.
Yeah, no, they're talented. I mean, they're different. Last year was a phenomenal group. This year's a phenomenal group. But that's what you got to do. I mean, you got to play defense, and it's one of those things where I've always – the only person off limits really from going both ways is the quarterback. But when you get to playoff time, you never know. You know what I mean? All bets are off. But I'm traditionally going to take my crazy athletic, really good dudes and put them over there on defense, and then we'll let them come over and do some offense too. So, but yeah, no, if we're going to load up on the defense, because that's hopefully what is going to win the championships.
I go back to the Hamilton game, and I think about your middle linebacker, Aiden Miller, who's been in those goal-to-go type packages, and what he means to your team as far as, essentially, calling out plays on defense as well and seeing everything. Mike Dyer over at WCPO had a very complimentary piece about him this week.
Yeah, no, Mike called me up and want to talk about doing it, and I said Aiden's the guy. I mean, he popped in my head right away. He's a young man who, if he was a few inches taller, he'd probably have a dozen D1 offers or so by now. Would have had him last year. He's a smart football player. I mean, he knows football. He's physical. He is strong. He gets after it in the weight room. He's a phenomenal running back as well, because that's what he originally was. But he's a great kid, great in the hallways, great in the classroom, great grades. Like whoever takes a shot on him is going to get a special football player.
I got a chance to meet him about a month and a half ago here over at Buffalo Wings and Rings.
Yeah.
And you would have thought that he had known me for a good portion of his life.
Yeah, that's just the type kid he is, that he will sit down and talk with him and all that. And he after the game on Friday night, he had such a great line. So we got things going on. There's always, the locker room world is its own little world. There's things going on, and at times where it's dysfunctional, but it's functional kind of deal. It's really weird to explain, but some of the younger kids won't know, but the older folks in the crowd will know. He put his hand on my shoulder. He says, "Coach," he goes, sometimes, I think we're just like the Detroit Pistons of back in the day, where it was just like chaos all the time. And I do talk about playing in the chaos, and I thought, yeah, you know what? That's about perfect. And I'm like, how does a 17-year-old kid, you know what I mean? So
yes.
Maybe he did the 30 by 30 on them and all that, and thought, man, that's like us. So.
I feel like I'm going into a Ty Bradshaw moment, but if we're talking about characters in your locker room against the bad boys of 3 decades ago, who's Isaiah Thomas? Who's Charles Oakley? Who's Dennis Rodman?
Yeah, I mean we have. Yeah, no, it would. I'd have to sit there and think, but you name it, we have those guys, and it may be these 3 or 4 guys are Dennis Rodman. I mean, Cam Gumbo would be. There's your Dennis Rodman. You know what I mean? It's like, it's definitely interesting. You know what I mean? It's quite the crew.
Well, I think about this, right? I got a chance to talk to Brennan Ramey the last time I had been here. And you need character guys who can keep guys loose, because one of the things I noticed about him when I got a chance to chat with him 2 weeks ago is he was keeping the rest of the guys at the table loose.
Yeah, listen, there's all that. Yeah, there's different types of you need all those different personalities in a locker room. I wouldn't want to coach, 90 of the same dudes in terms of whatever. That would be that would be mind numbing. Yeah, no, I've been known to have a little bit of different personality myself at times. So yeah,
you?
No, all that stuff makes for good program.
Coach, I got to stick with that on topic for a second. Have you had a locker room that, at a given point of the season, that became a little uniform? I guess is the best way I think I can put it. And how would you break it up, or did you have to break it up?
No, I mean listen. We're always going to have that. I mean it is when you have stuff on your team, the locker room, all that would happen in a family setting, then you got something special. And we have that at times. You know what I mean? Brothers are going to bicker at times. Brothers are going to hug each other at times. But it's just everything that happens.
Well, we'll do for a timeout. One more timeout, and we'll have another segment here. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about some of what we've seen this season. I had seen so many of your games up close that, and this is not a retrospective. You got still plenty of football ahead of you.
Yes.
But there are still a few things that I still kind of want to go, remember this, and I want to see if I
don't want to do too much of that now. We got football ahead of us. Let's go.
And
I'm on to Moeller. That might just be the answer you're going to get from me.
Fair enough.
If I say I'm on to Moeller, then you will move on.
Fair enough. We're due for a timeout. We'll be back here at Buffalo Wings and Rings for the Firebird Show here on Chatterbox Live. Back to the Firebird Show here on Chatterbox Live here at Buffalo Wings and Rings here in Beckett Ridge. Come say hi to Cy and his entire crew here. They will take care of you right. Of course, it's not bar food, it's raised to bar food, and I highly encourage you to get the cheeseburger tonight. Yeah, no, that thing's special. Yeah, it's good stuff. I mentioned right before the break, Coach, there's a part of me that wanted to ask some questions just on regards to what I had seen during this season as we look forward. I think I got to ask you this, and this is the most important one that I thought about. When did you feel like this during the season where you said, hey, this team might have something? I knew preseason. And I wasn't discouraged after the first game. There were some factors during that game against St. X game 1 that kind of limited us and some things we could do. So, but yeah, no, I knew. I knew way back when we were started lifting back in January. You know what I mean? So, yeah, no, I knew for a while we had a chance. One more on the past here. I thought about this. You have, including, between special teams and defense, I believe it's 7 returns for touchdowns this year. I think it is. I don't know. I mean, you guys would probably know. I know it's a lot. I know we've got block kicks. I know we've got punt returns. I know we got interception returns. I know we got So, yeah, no, I know we got a lot, and that is, that's the lost. Everybody forgets about the special teams and things like that, but man, those things. Special teams can turn a game good or bad real quick. Well, I bring that up specifically, right, because that's what changes games all the time. I think back to the playoff game against Milford. You had a pretty close one at the half, and then Trent Lloyd takes one back into the house, and I swear that the game went 180 at that point. Yeah, no, it did. Well, and once we realized we can't control what the all-star officiating crews want to do, like I just told the kids, I said, just play within yourself. I'll handle that stuff. And once we got over, that stuff, but yeah, no, that was they're just game changers, just the momentum and things like that. On the note of officiating, and here we go. On the note of officiating, on the Moeller. No, on the note of officiating. Just want to say for a second here before we do move on, condolences to the Sagers family. Yeah. Bob Sagers, who had been an OSA Hall of Famer, passed away on Monday morning. He was 80 years old. He had officiated in the Cincinnati area for 50 years. Yeah, one of the cool things, and that I do remember, his last officiated high school football game I was coaching in. And that was pretty cool. He chose that game to be his last. So that's a pretty cool game. Just as in general, forgetting about Mr. Sagers here for just a second, but as a general, what are those relationships like with officials? Is it as easy as turning it on, turning it off, once the clock starts and ends? To be honest with you, I would probably explain them as the same as they are with, like, Steve and I, Coach Beck and I. Like all those guys, I'll see them when, good relationships and all that.
but it is. Listen, I am passionate about what I do. I make no excuses for wearing my emotions on my sleeve, for being emotional about my kids, for wanting what's best for my kids, and for fighting for my kids when I think what's right and what's wrong, even though I might be wrong. You know what I mean? And that's those things. Those guys, that is a hard gig. You know, one, we don't pay them enough. It's ridiculous.
True.
The lack. I mean, we should pay them at least double what they make. You know, they are out there getting after it. They don't do it for the money, but we should pay. You know, they got to listen to guys like me on Friday night. They got to listen to fans. They got to listen to trainers. It's amazing what they got to listen to. But you know, I just think I feel bad for them when we get to the playoffs. The OHSA has wanted to reward those guys and, you know, give them these playoff games and things like that. But I think they need to reward the crews. You know, we are the only sport that the officials are in a crew. That's who you work with all the time. No other sport has that. You might work with guys multiple times in basketball and baseball, but I don't understand why we disband them to do other things, because it's not fair to those guys. You're going to bring a group. We don't have 6 all year. And then all of a sudden we go to 6. Most of them haven't worked together. First time they meet each other is an hour and a half before the game. Yeah, it's just not setting them up for what's best for those guys as well, and ultimately what's best for the kids. So I don't know. Maybe I'll ask some questions to the higher ups to figure out exactly why. Like, I don't know what I'm missing as to why they do it. So, but no, I have tremendous respect and admiration for those officials. And all that they do. They're a great group of guys.
So onward to Moeller, obviously, here on Friday night. Is there any one thing that, and again, you know, it's hard to ask you to give away a secret sauce, and I'm not asking you to do that, but is there anything very specific that you say, hey, we have to get this done for us to win on Friday?
It's the same. I mean, it'll be, hopefully it'll be next Monday sitting here talking to you. It'll be the same deal. We have to take care of the ball on offense. You know, take care of the ball on offense, end each possession in a kick. Ideally a point after, if not a field goal, and if not that, punt and let our defense do it. And we gotta create turnovers like we've been doing on defense.
And we hope to see that on Friday night.
Yeah.
This game will be over at Mason, over at Dwyer Field, over at Atrium Stadium.
Yep.
I hope I've got all of that right.
I think you did. I think at Dwyer Field, Atrium Stadium. Yep, you got it.
Hey, in regards to the playing surface over there at Mason, you had a win over at Mason this year. Is there anything from an expectation, field conditions, anything to expect over there?
No, they put a new field in a few years ago. It's a beautiful field. It's a beautiful stadium. They did it up right. We've been in that locker room before. We've been on that sideline before. It's good seating for the fans. It's just right up the road. It'll be a great atmosphere.
Well, all I can tell you is we over at Chatterbox Sports will be there. I'll get to call the game along with Kevin Zilch. I believe our producer, the fancy-haired one, Joe Meehan, will be there.
All right, Joe. Let's do it.
You know, we've got to make sure that he gets down on the field to be able to say hi to you.
Absolutely. We'll make it happen.
Well, absolutely. Coach, hey, good luck on Friday. We're looking forward to good things here. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say no. I'm looking forward to it. So it'll be a special night. It'll be another instant classic.
And we can't wait for it. Again, game time at 7 o'clock over at Mason High School. We'll have it here on Chatterbox Live at 6:50 with the pregame. So we are going to exit here. We enjoyed our time here for the Firebird Show tonight here at Buffalo Wings and Rings here in Beckett Ridge. Come on out. It's not bar food. It's raised to bar food. Come out and see Cy and his crew here. They will take care of you right. I'm going to get the cheeseburger here in about 5 minutes.
Great time to be a Firebird, baby. Great time to be a Firebird.
For the coach, I'm Chef Kim. And for Joe Meehan, our producer, good night from Beckett Ridge.